"You look tired, like my husband before he left." The words fell soft as snowflakes between them. Callan Montgomery looked up from his untouched coffee, surprised to find the young waitress standing beside his table, her green eyes holding something deeper than casual concern. Most people didn't speak to him that way, didn't dare, but Lennox Harper wasn't looking at the CEO worth millions. She was looking at a man who seemed to be disappearing into himself. "I'm sorry," she added quickly, her fingers tightening around the order pad. I shouldn't have." "No." His voice came out rougher than intended. "You're right. I am tired." It was 11 p.m. on a Thursday, and the cafe was nearly empty except for the sound of rain against the windows and the low hum of the espresso machine. Callan had been coming here for 3 weeks now, always taking the same seat by the window, always ordering the same black coffee he never finished. He told himself it was because his penthouse felt too quiet, too full of awards and empty achievements. But tonight, something in this stranger's observation cracked through his carefully constructed walls. Lennox hesitated, then pulled out the chair across from him. "My shift ends in 10 minutes. Would you mind if I sat with you, just for a moment?" He nodded, uncertain why he wanted her to stay. She sat down with a soft exhale, brushing a strand of blonde hair from her face. Up close, Callan could see the faint shadows under her eyes, the weariness that mirrored his own. "My husband, Garrett, he used to get that same look, like he was carrying the world and couldn't put it down. He was a firefighter. 3 years ago, he went into a building to save a child trapped on the 4th floor. She paused, her fingers tracing invisible patterns on the table. He saved her, but he didn't come back out. I'm so sorry." The words felt inadequate, but they were all he had. "I have a daughter, Emberly. She's 3 now, barely remembers him except through photographs and stories I tell her." Lennox's voice remained steady, but her eyes glistened. "Some nights after I finish my graphic design work at home, I come here for the closing shift. It helps, being around people, even strangers. Makes the world feel less empty." Callan found himself leaning forward. "What made you speak to me tonight?" "Because I recognize that exhaustion. You come here night after night, and you sit alone, and you look like you're waiting for something you can't name." She met his gaze directly. "And maybe I needed to remember that I'm not the only one who feels lost sometimes." Something shifted in that moment, a recognition between two souls who'd forgotten how to reach out. Over the following weeks, our conversations became a ritual. Callan learned that Lennox designed logos and branding for small businesses, working late into the night after Emberly fell asleep. She learned that Callan had built his empire by sacrificing everything personal, that at 33 he had no one to call family, no one who saw beyond his bank account. His parents had died in a car accident when he was 19, leaving him alone with their small tech company, which he'd transformed through sheer determination and sleepless years into something massive and isolating. One evening, Lennox arrived at work with red-rimmed eyes. Callan immediately stood up. "What happened?" "Emberly's preschool called. They're closing down next month. Can't afford to stay open." Her voice cracked. "It's the only place she's been happy since Garrett. She has friends there, structure, and I can't afford the other preschools in the area. I've been trying to figure out what to do, but let me help." The words came without thought. "No, I couldn't possibly. Not as charity, as investment." Callan's mind was already working. What if we saved the preschool, made it sustainable? What Lennox didn't know was that Callan had already been quietly watching over her family. 2 weeks earlier, he discovered that her landlord was planning to raise her rent by 40%. Callan had bought the building under a trust name and frozen all rent increases. When her car broke down, an anonymous donor had paid the repair shop. He told himself these were just practical gestures, but the truth was more complicated. He was learning what it meant to care again, and it terrified him. But Lennox was keeping her own secret. The logo she'd been designing late at night wasn't for a client. It was for a non-profit she wanted to create in Garrett's name, helping families of first responders. She'd seen how isolated grief could make people, how the world moved on while you stood still. Every late shift at the cafe, every conversation with Callan had reinforced her belief that human connection was the answer to loneliness. She just didn't know how to tell him that she'd been designing this dream partly because of him, because he'd shown her that healing could happen when someone truly saw you. One snowy December evening, Callan came to the cafe and found it closed for a private event. Confused, he peered through the window, and his breath caught. Inside, Lennox had transformed the space. Paper snowflakes hung from the ceiling, and in the corner, little Emberly was sitting coloring with several other children. Lennox saw him and rushed to unlock the door. "I wanted to surprise you," she said, her smile nervous and hopeful. "This is the first meeting of the Garrett Harper Foundation. 5 families, all who've lost first responders, and their children. I've been planning it for months, but I couldn't have done it without remembering that kindness is contagious, that one person caring can change everything." Callan felt his throat tighten. "Lennox, I need to tell you something. Those rent increases that didn't happen, your car repairs, that was me. I know," she said it kindly, comfortably. "The building manager told me last week. He thought I knew, mentioned the trust name, Garrett Recovery Fund." She'd noticed Callan had used parts of both their names. "I've been waiting for you to tell me yourself. I should have asked first. I didn't know how to help without it seeming like pity. It's not pity when you see someone as an equal, when you recognize their struggle because you share it." She reached for his hand. "Callan, you saved that preschool. You helped these families tonight. But more than that, you taught me that it's okay to let someone in again, that opening your heart doesn't mean betraying the past." Emberly appeared beside them, tugging on Callan's coat. "Mr. Callan, want to color with me?" He knelt down to her level, this tiny child who'd never known her father, but carried his kindness in her eyes. "I'd love that, Emberly." As he sat cross-legged on the floor with a little girl and her crayons, Lennox watched from the counter, tears streaming freely now. This lonely CEO who'd forgotten to live had found his way back through the simplest of acts, seeing another person's pain and choosing to ease it. Later, after everyone had left and they stood together by the window where they'd first truly met, Callan said, "I used to think success meant never needing anyone, building walls so high that nothing could hurt me. And now?" Lennox asked. "I think maybe being tired isn't weakness. Maybe it's your heart telling you it's time to stop running." He looked at her, really looked at her. "You saved me, Lennox, by seeing me when I was invisible." She leaned her head against his shoulder, a gesture of comfort and connection, not romance, simply 2 souls who'd found refuge in mutual understanding. "We saved each other. That's what kindness does. It multiplies. One small moment of caring becomes a foundation, and before you know it, you're not alone anymore." Through the window, snow continued to fall on the quiet city, each flake unique and fragile and part of something larger. Inside, 2 people who'd lost their way had found something more valuable than love or success. They'd found the courage to be human again, to reach across loneliness and build bridges made of simple, persistent kindness. The greatest gift we can give isn't money or time or even love. It's the willingness to truly see another person's exhaustion, their hidden grief, their quiet courage, and say, "You're not alone. I see you, and that matters." Because in the end, we're all just travelers seeking the same thing, proof that our existence touches others, that our kindness ripples outward, that we matter simply because we cared.
If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.